It's been a while since I've done a roast. The last roast I did was about 5 years ago. It was pretty freaking awesome. It had the cinematography of Oliver Stone's Natural Born Killers and the social insight of Beavis and Butthead. Maybe Annoying Orange. But regardless, there was a downside. It did get me in trouble. In fact, it got my entire residency class into trouble. And actually, it was the last roast that was ever allowed at University of South Florida. And that's the truth. So with that in mind, I want everyone to know that the following is based on a true story, which means that it is a complete distortion of the truth. So everyone just relax, finish the drink in your hands. It will be over soon.
Hello. I am Dr. Grimme. I am surprised that you have found me. I imagine you started looking in the most obvious place. At PRN Coffee. Then you looked in the second most obvious place, on my way to PRN Coffee. And the last place you would find me was in the reading room. But you found me in the second to last place, the operating room, and from the EKG, the patient is not doing well. And the fact that the radiologist is in the operating room and not unconscious on the table, the patient will probably not make it. I'm not sure how I got here. But here I am. On my last day in the hospital. And my last day working for Radiology Associates. Today has been slightly more entertaining than most, as I have been reflecting on the events leading to today.
So, Dr. Grimme, how did you become interested in medicine?
I like coffee.
It wasn't the desire for academic achievement?
I like coffee.
It wasn't that you embodied the compassion needed for healing the ailing masses?
No. I really like coffee.
It wasn't the desire to save lives and eradicate disease?
No. I really like coffee.
Well then, you could have been a barista.
My favorite part of coffee is the acquisition and consumption of coffee.
Well, when did you realize that you wanted to be a doctor?
It was at the end of college. I knew I wanted to avoid the real world, and I wanted to pursue the acquiring and consumption of coffee, so medical school seemed like the obvious choice.
So, what drew you to radiology?
I essentially ruled out all other fields of medicine, and radiology was left.
So, how exactly did you do that?
Let me tell you a story. I ran a marathon, and at mile 21 I heard a snap. A large amount of pain was associated with hearing this audible snap. I continued to run. After the race, my foot swelled up to the size of a loaf of bread. The pain never went away despite how much I walked on it. Then someone said, "It's probably broken." And it was.
So, breaking a bone and not realizing it for a week despite the agonizing pain? That happens occasionally.
Another time, I cut down a tree, and it landed on my leg. I heard a snap and the weirdest thing happened. It swelled up to the size of a loaf of bread and remained painful despite how long I walked on it. Eventually, someone, a different person than before, said, "It's probably broken." And it was.
I get it. You thought a field without physical exams would be the best suited for you. Well, how did you rule out psychiatry?
Clinic would be too confining concerning limiting the times during which coffee could be acquired.
No physical exams, no clinic. Well then, how did you rule out pathology?
Too many chemicals, and those chemicals aren't the good kind of chemicals.
Okay, so no physical exams, no clinic, no chemicals.
Radiology was the obvious choice. Open access to acquire and consume coffee, with unlimited free internet access.
Do you have any hobbies?
Yes. I collect skulls of animals other than humans.
So, no human skulls, huh?
Yes. No human skulls. Some people might think having human skulls around the house would be weird.
Very insightful. So, where do you display these skulls?
Around the house, over doorways, on the coffee table, as a centerpiece. You know, the usual places.
I guess I can see how a neuroradiologist would be fascinated with comparative neuroanatomy.
I was into skulls before it was cool. I started collecting skulls when I was 8.
Okay, let's move on. So, can you take call?
Does it allow open access to acquire and consume coffee?
Oh, yes. And with minimal planning, you can consume twice the amount of coffee as the average radiologist.
Yes. I would like very much to take call and consume twice the amount of coffee as the average radiologist. Radiology Associates had a board meeting where they discussed my potential employment. Shortly thereafter, they made me an offer that I couldn't refuse. Sometimes I wonder what they discussed at that board meeting.
So, who is this new candidate? His name is John Grimme. Another white guy named John? Yes, another white guy named John. So, what's this guy's background? Well, he did his neuro fellowship at UNC. North Carolina? Now, I've lived in North Carolina, and there are two types of people. There are moonshiners and people who drink moonshine. And usually, the moonshiners drink moonshine too. So you're saying this guy is drinking moonshine and maybe a moonshiner too? That cannot be excluded. Well, moonshining isn't as analytical as winemaking, so he's probably drinking a little methanol in that hooch. Ooh, he's probably drinking a lot of methanol. His vision is probably going to be impaired. You know what that means? More QA. Oh yeah. That's not the best part. He says that he wants to take call. Methanol on call. That's like more QA squared.
So you've worked here for 7 years now. How do you like it?
Things are good. Coffee is abundant. Sometimes I dream that I'm Bill Murray in that movie Groundhog's Day. You know, the movie where he lives the same day every day, but then I realize that I'm not asleep, and I'm actually at work, and the reading room is just a little different than the day before.
Wow. That's crazy.
Like this reading room, even though the walls are the same, carpet is the same, the computer is the same, the room is shaped like an L.
I didn't even notice that.
Also, this phone rings a lot more. And the studies that you get are often very challenging. For example, I recently had an MRI of the entire body, and the indication was rule out sickness/disease. It had to be overread by the MSK, Body and Interventional Radiologist.
So what's this slot called?
It's called Sacred Heart Reading Room 1, but I call it the Barrel.
Why?
Let me tell you a story. There was a new recruit in the Navy, and it was his first time out to sea. The Admiral was giving him a tour of the boat. The Admiral said, "Well, I've shown you the mess hall, the gym, the brig, and that concludes our tour." And the new recruit inquired, "Well, Admiral, what should I do if I get sexual urges?" And the Admiral said, "Oh, I almost forgot. Near the engine room, there's a barrel with a hole. Just hump that if the urge arises." The next day the new recruit did just that. The day following, post-hump day 1, the new recruit saw the Admiral and said, "Admiral, you know I humped that barrel and that was the greatest. I'm going to do that every day." And the Admiral said, "That sounds great, but you can't do it on Tuesdays, because that's your day in the barrel."
So you were comparing your ER work slot to being anonymously sodomized through a glory hole?
Yes.
Doesn't sound like a fun slot.
That is completely inaccurate. I was in the Navy. There weren't any barrels. There were footlockers.
What other rooms are there?
There is this one room is just a little different too. The door has a key-coded lock that can't be controlled from the inside, and nobody can enter the correct code on their first attempt. The room also has a couch, which seems very out of place, and a mini refrigerator with a jug of water in it, that I don't dare drink.
So what's is this slot called?
Sacred Heart Reading Room 2, but I call it hole number 2.
Any other rooms?
There's this one room that has the same wall color, same carpet color, and same computers, but the room is about 1/4 the size of any other room. It's like I ate the cake in Alice in Wonderland and I've grown to 4 times my usual size, just crammed inside this little room. I feel like a real cow, except my cage has a phone that rings constantly.
And what is that slot called?
I call it the closet.
You realize that the 3 slots you have given nicknames. The nicknames are all rooted in homosexual innuendos.
That is simply a coincidence.
So, why are you leaving Radiology Associates?
I found a woman that gets me, married her. Now I have to leave on a high note.
What was the best part of working for Radiology Associates?
The free vegan burritos?
Those aren't actually free. Those are deducted from your paycheck.
This is another example of the man sticking it to me.
S corporations are not permitted to have cafeteria or parking permit plans. That is dictated by the federal government.
The man is hard at work, sticking it to me.
Dr. Grimme's greatest achievement? Well, no doubt about it. That would be his medical directorship at Sacred Heart University District. During his tenure, the number of admissions dropped 600%. If you go there now, it's like the opening scene in The Walking Dead pilot. Greatest achievement? Without a doubt, was breaking the fluoro monitor in Florence. That's a shame. That monitor was newer than my television. That fluoro monitor was a piece of crap. I've wanted to break that thing for 70 years. This achievement? Definitely finding that metal box that he carries his sandwiches in. You know how much money he's saving on plastic bags? Hey, you stole mine. Oh, I'll miss him. Our QA program just got cut in half. I'll miss his affinity for hard alcohol. Hey, we got moonshine in Louisiana too, you know. I'll miss his constructive criticism concerning everything about McKinsey-Willamette Hospital. After taking weekend call, he'd sometimes send out these unintelligible emails. The content was hilarious, but the purpose of the email and the point is truly unintelligible. It was like a Jack Kerouac novel. I won't miss him. We're going to do CrossFit together. Ooh, yeah!